can middle-aged women survive divorce? Raymond Hamilton and Geraldine Mayo are here with some advice. Ladies, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Sarah.
So let's talk about your own personal stories first. Ray, when you weren't exactly middle-aged when you got divorced, but it's still an interesting story about what choices you made.
Yes, yes. I had to actually make a choice because I had teenage children to keep an income coming in, so I decided, well, the family home is not going to bring an income, so instead I took a business. And didn't have a choice, I had to make it work. So that catalyst was the children. The catalyst was income, whereas Geraldine's was very different. Second time at 50 is what we're talking, what our women, particularly with
there's a lot more feeling of vulnerability at 50 than there is at 35.
Well, because you would say to yourself, well, how many more years work have I got before I have to retire? Whereas at 35, you've got another 30.
Yes.
So what happened to you, Geraldine, when you were 50? How did you sort of approach the whole divorce, as it were?
To be perfectly honest, Sarah, it created a crisis in me and made me reevaluate my whole life, really, because I had been spending, I think, a fair amount of time in not what I thought was an unhappy marriage, but just a marriage that was drifting along. And then I realised when the crisis happened that actually I wasn't happy and I wasn't myself, and I needed to have a good hard look at me and say, who are you and who do you really want to be?
What do you mean the crisis happened?
Well, my husband said he didn't want to be married anymore, and I didn't ever think he would say that, even though I knew we were kind of drifting along on parallel lines. And when that happened, it made me, it was quite a shock, actually. It made me stop and think, and over a period of time, and there's a huge grieving time too, with divorce, even if you're the one who wants to go. There's still the grief of leaving a life that you had before and dealing with that.
Grieving the old identity, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
And of course the friend and colleague issue comes in as well, because I always sort of think if you get divorced, who goes with who?
Well, this dear lady stayed with me.
Yes, I made the choice. I said to my husband at the time, I'm with her, because we were friends as couples.
As couples.
I'm with her.
And I'll never forget you for that.
But what do you do? Because I think a lot of women find when they end up on their own that couples that they know tend to sort of drift apart a bit. It's almost like it's difficult. This is what we're hearing
actually on the website all the time. Women are saying, how do I meet new friends? I've actually just realised we met all our friends through my husband's business or his job. So naturally, when the relationship breaks up, they all go with the husband. Or probably even more so with a death.
But even the social group too can be, because it might be the men's golf group or the men's tennis group or whatever, and then suddenly you're not part of that because you actually don't play golf or you don't play tennis, and
you lose, you lose.
You're like Norman O-friends turning up at the tennis club.
So let's talk about money, because that's a really big thing, and it's something we've discussed on this show a lot. There's the advice that as a woman you should be stashing your own cash to the side just in case something happens in your life. Because often you are, particularly women who are middle-aged, have been the ones who've been raising the children, have not been the ones out working, who are not earning money. You must hear this all the time from women on the website.
Well, what we understand perfectly is, and what we try and tell people, it is a lifestyle change. You can't actually stay who you were. Not financially, it is not possible. You actually have to accept things will change. And circumstances are circumstances. It's how you react to those circumstances.
It's your attitude through the change that actually gets you through the change.
What about work, though, and what about getting money in once you do hit your middle age if you haven't worked for a number of years? I mean, admittedly, you're going to have a lower level of lifestyle, but you've still got to have some income coming in. So what are some ideas that you've heard from women in terms of going back into the workforce in your 50s, for example?
Well, they go back into a entirely different workforce. First of all, they try and go into exactly what they used to be, and then they realise, well, I didn't really want to do that. I mean, I have one lady whose marriage broke up and she is a neurolinguistic programmer and she is amazing. Well, she does this tapping to help people get through situations.
Yes, that's right.
And I had no idea what it was, but she is so successful.
And she loves it.
And this
Is that what she used to do?
No.
Oh.
No, she was an amazing... she was a coach. She was a sales coach.
Oh, okay.
And she trained people, and she was a photographer, but those things completely changed. She became a lot more spiritual, and she met her new man online.
Is that something you're hearing from women in their 50s? Are they happy to get onto those find someone sites and so forth?
Yes, they are, and they realise it's not going to... You have to kiss a lot of frogs before you find the prince. They do understand that. Yes. They don't expect that it's going to be the Prince Charming first time, but they do understand the same way as a single person, a young one, understands. When you go along and meet people, they're not all going to be forever.
And I actually don't... Well, this is what our ladies tell us as well, is that the men actually don't want to be out on the hunt either. You know, they feel like old codgers if they go, you know, they don't, you know, the genuine
to the bars,
men. Yeah, it's not their thing either.
Because just quickly before we go, let's talk about the men thing, because to me, on the surface, it appears that men in their 50s and 60s are going out with much younger women. Are you hearing that?
There is...
Yes, yes, and that's why there's a lot less men available in the pool for the older woman. And we think this is probably where the cougar thing came in as well, that women are quite happy in their 50s to go out with someone in their 40s, quite happy.
When we did our survey, we had a lot of responses from women saying, I've been with a man 10 years younger than me for 20 years, and I've been with a man 16 years and very, very happy. And there was a tremendous amount of women out there our age who are actually with women a lot younger than them and thriving on it.
Well, there you
Good
go.
on men.
And on that note, we'll leave it on the cougar note. Wonderful. Thank you so much, ladies, for coming on the show.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Well, just ahead, Jeffrey Archer